What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about the 5 downsides that I see most about being a digital nomad. And before we get started, just a little bit of background. I am currently in Incheon in Korea, in a city about an hour away by metro from Seoul, from the capital. Pretty much kind of like a suburb, very densely populated. You'll see high-rises just everywhere. I don't think I've ever seen more high-rises than in Incheon, at least on a per capita basis. And I actually filmed this video yesterday in a much more interesting neighborhood, a couple of streets back there, kind of like a mall area. But unfortunately there was some background music, so I got copyright flagged and I have to record the whole thing again. But anyways, today we're talking about the 5 downsides of being a digital nomad. Last week I did a video on the 5 upsides, the 5 best benefits. So if you haven't checked that out, feel free to do so. A little bit of background on myself. As most of you probably know, I've been traveling, living as a digital nomad for about 2 years now. So I've been to about, I think, 13 different countries, 4 countries in Latin America, 8 countries in Asia, Canada, where I'm from. Stop by there. But anyways, no more time wasting, let's get into it. So the number one downside, I think, is the loneliness. So unless you're traveling with somebody, which some people might be, it's kind of lonely to just travel around all the time alone, going from country to country, and you don't always stay in an area long enough to really make friends. I think the times that I have made a lot of friends, I've been in a country for like 6 months or 5 months in Peru. And depending on where you're going as well, it's not always like as outgoing and friendly. So yeah, not always easy to make friends, and you really have to put yourself out there, going to like meetups and events, stuff like that. And if you're not super extroverted, which fortunately I am, I think most of the time, but you have to be pretty extroverted in order to really make connections. And if you're going alone, yeah, you're bound to be alone in your hotel room late at night sometimes, just thinking to yourself, man, it'd be nice to have some company. And this ties in pretty nicely to the next downside, which is the dating. So last week in the video about the benefits of being a digital nomad, I mentioned that casual dating is fun because you can date, whatever kind of person you want, and you can go to countries that share the same kind of looks, features or values that you're attracted to. But the downside is that it's only really good for casual dating, because naturally deeper relationships take time to form. And unless the person you're talking to is willing to become a digital nomad with you, you're typically going to have to give up something. Whether that's giving them up to go to the next location, or giving up the lifestyle to spend more time with them in wherever you meet them. So it's a little bit complicated in that sense. I've dated on both sides. I've dated somebody who's nomadic, and we broke up because we just wanted to go to different locations. And I've dated somebody who was in a fixed location somewhere I went to. And we broke up because I wanted to continue the journey. But both kind of breakups are hard. And yeah, so if you want to have a deeper relationship, you definitely have to make some sacrifices, as one would expect. All right, the third thing that's a downside is that you're going to lose your friends. When you're traveling, especially if you're gone for like multiple years at a time, and really kind of embracing the decentralized lifestyle, you're going to see friends at home getting more and more distant from you. You won't be there for the birthdays, the hangouts. So much of our friendships are proximity based. That's why you're friends with somebody when you go to university with them, because you see them every day. But once high school is over, or once university is over, then the friendship is kind of just fizzles out. So that definitely is the case as well. So when you're traveling, you're going to meet people all across the world, or wherever you choose to go. So that's pretty awesome. But you will strain your relationships with people at home, and don't be surprised if you find yourself just not really staying in touch with them as much as you want to, or as much as you thought that you would. But it's it really depends on the kind of person you are. Some people can really keep in touch, but personally I had a hard time with that one. And I think most of my friendships in my hometown of Canada are mostly fizzled out, or we can still stay in touch or hang out when I'm there, but it's just not the same as if I were in the same location as them. All right, number 4 is your earning potential. So typically, when you're in a fixed location, companies will pay you more because you're one of the best hires from that pool of applicants. If you live in a city like where I'm from in Winnipeg in Canada, there's 1 million people, so not as many people to choose from. The people have to pay Canadian wages. They have to stay competitive. So you can just essentially get a better rate of pay, a better wage. When you're working online, your employer can basically hire from around the world, which is a much bigger pool of applicants. So that puts downwards pressure on your wages, and you'll typically make less. Some nice Korean little architecture things just sprinkled through the area here. But yeah, anyway, so you can definitely expect your wages to go down compared to people who are staying in the same location or the same job. And I mean, you're giving it up to have location independence, which depends on your values. It's probably worth it to a certain degree, but you're gonna have to kind of choose to what degree. And definitely doesn't apply to everybody. Some people can just maintain their same income while traveling, especially if you have your own business or something like that. But most of the time, especially if you're an employee, you will have to take a pay cut when looking to travel the world and work online. And guys, number 5, the last downside of becoming a digital nomad is it's all basically shallow work. So I'm reading a book called Deep Work right now by Cal Newport. Good book. I'm actually listening to the audiobook, but who cares? But basically, his theory, the whole book is about how if you want to build something that's like truly long-lasting, truly contributes something to society, you can think of like J.K. Rowling when she wrote Harry Potter, or basically anything an artist would make that actually like stands the test of time. You have to really concentrate, and you have to get into a state of flow. You have to really get into that state of deep work, and that comes from having less distractions, less variables, an optimized workspace. Basically it comes from having a regiment, a work ritual, so you're not just figuring stuff out every time you sit down to do some work. And the reality is that when you're a digital nomad, a lot of the time you're just working in a hotel room that you didn't optimize at all. Maybe the chair is uncomfortable, maybe there's no real desk, whatever. You have to deal with all these different variables. Maybe the Wi-Fi isn't 100% fast. Maybe there is no desk, maybe there is no chair, maybe you're just in your bed with scrunched up posture, or maybe you're in a cafe down the street from where you live, and it's noisy, and it's not somewhere where you feel comfortable working, and there's people coming in and out all the time. But all of these different variables are constantly playing a factor and taking you out of that state of deep work. And so you're constantly in the state of shallow work, where you're just kind of you can do a little bit of things, you can answer emails, you can update stuff, but it's tough to really get into that state of deep focus. Oh, it's a little cold out here. I think it's about 5 degrees Celsius. So probably like 75 Fahrenheit or something. But yeah, anyways, it's tough to get into that state of deep work. So you kind of feel like you're falling behind and not really living up to what your true potential is in terms of output. And in a short term, it doesn't really matter, like you can get by. But in the long term, I think that you will see that stack up in terms of what you think that you're capable of and what you've actually achieved in that amount of time. So, recommendations. Having traveled around for a while, I think that it's best to go through periods of exploring, where you're kind of doing the shallow work, and then periods of really settling down for a while, maybe 3 to 6 months at a time. The longer the better. And that way you can form better relationships. That way you can get more deep work done. That way you can date somebody And also just be careful dating somebody. You don't want to pick the wrong person or deal with the problems that I've recommended, or just know whether it's casual or serious that you're looking for, because that can help a lot as well. But anyways, those are my 5 downsides of being a digital nomad. I'm gonna go get some Korean food now, I think. And if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It really helps me out a lot. I just want to, continue making these kind of videos. And the more people I see subscribe, the more it encourages me to do so. So hit the like button as well. And I'll be back next week with another video. All right, take care.